Indigenous Peoples Day, because
God
Christopher
bless.
Columbus is a bad man, so we have to have Indigenous Peoples Day to rally against him or something. I do love that this was also sharing shelf space with a lot of other days, because there aren't enough days in the year for different causes, are there? So as you can see here, Boris Johnson celebrating Day of the Girl. I don't know.
That sounds like a cult.
Is that
the doomsday?
with the fist there at the end as well. I love how Twitter gives things symbols now, so you know if they're officially approved by the leftist cathedral.
I'm sorry, Day of the Girl sounds like a gigantic female fist is going to descend from the sky.
Or like it's the day that women just start murdering men in the streets or something. Like Day of the Rope.
The
literally.
radical feminist what day that they've been looking for, really.
Dude, actually, I won't go into that because YouTube might not like me
All
talking
right.
about the Day of the X. But anyway, Day of the Girl is the feminist version of that. And as you can see here, it's sharing shelf space with that one. And if we go to the next one, it's also sharing space with National Coming Out Day. You coming out today? No, it was yesterday, so don't do it. All right.
You have to wrap around to next year now.
Yeah, so the other Build Back Better chap, Biden, condemns anti-LGBTQ plus legislation on National Coming Out Day, in which he said that we must uphold alphabetism. Anyway, so if we go to the next one, we have Tim Cook, the CEO of Apple, who's incredibly excited to be woke whenever he can. So this is Indigenous Peoples Day. We recognize that many native communities whose rich histories and cultures should be celebrated and honored. I agree. I agree entirely.
Yes.
Indigenous people should be celebrated in their entirety. All Indigenous people. All 6 billion of them. Because everyone's Indigenous.
To somewhere.
You don't just have to wear a grass skirt to be an Indigenous person to a place, culture, or nation. So we go to the next one. I thought we'd just celebrate the Indigenous culture of the United States. So the Indigenous people, in 1776, in Philadelphia, the Second Continental Congress declared war of independence in the colonies as the United States, led by General George Washington, and it won the Revolutionary War. Celebrate these Indigenous people, because they are. The word indigenous applies to Americans living in America. And how can it not?
I mean, they founded the country.
Yes.
America wouldn't be America without them.
So if we go to the next one, I think there should have been this is Carl celebrating Indigenous Day as well. So, of course, it's not just people in skirts, because the English are also indigenous to England. Where else could they have come from? Not France. Anyway, so there's that. So if we also go...
factual picture right there.
Yeah.
That's how we cleared it.
That's how we did that thing. Anyway, so we go to the next one. We have the definition of indigenous for people who may doubt this for some reason. But also they say here, Google, originating or occurring naturally in a particular place, native. So being not from the place, but of the place. So it's not enough to be born in Russia to be Russian. You have to be of Russia to be Russian. And therefore you are indigenous to Russia. Or you could be indigenous to England, or Somalia, or Siberia, or America. Because the Americans, I don't know why they let this slide, but they are indigenous to the United States. And you cannot say they are of anywhere else, because when they go anywhere else, we sort of stare at them and think, what the hell are they doing here?
From what I've seen, it just appears to be the overwhelming white guilt of it all, sadly. Sadly, they can't accept that that's where they're from, so they have a right to it. Or at least some of them.
But also, I am somewhat disappointed in the, let's say, right-wing Americans who they really should just bring up this defense more often. I am indigenous.
Yeah.
I'm indigenous to the United States. Where the hell else am I from? That should be their argument. Anyway, but of course, this has nothing to do with celebrating people. It is about hating people, specifically Christopher Columbus and the horrible, horrible things he has done to the world by discovering the New World. So you can see someone here as an example, Happy Indigenous Peoples Day, fellow natives, and then some lady flipping off the camera saying F Christopher Columbus. Because, why? Do they care about the bad things he did in Hispaniola? No. Couldn't give less of a toss. So if we go to the next one, we can go through some of the leftist responses to this. So as an example, Joy Reid, the lady who is spending her entire adult life defending critical race theory for...
without knowing anything about it.
New, which is rather embarrassing. But also you see here, Happy Indigenous Peoples Day, Black Fist. Because, of course, this, I don't know, presumably has to do with some kind of worldwide international blackery, which includes all people of colour, as they would say.
Well, they're all the same.
That's the leftist opinion, which is that anyone who does not have Northern European skin is in some kind of club together. Because, of course, if we go to the next one, we have AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Talking about this. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day, said Cortez, taking today to reflect on our Tanio and Arawak ancestors. Cortez said, I mean, I would have thought of all the people in the left. Shut your mouth on this one, but okay. No, Cortez is here to celebrate the indigenous people of America, except the ones that she doesn't like the Americans.
Yes.
Instead, she only cares for the Indians, as they like to call themselves, and have been called for years, and should be called, at least according to CGP Gray's video, which I would recommend on this topic. So I'll take his word for it, and I live in the States. Anyway, so if we move on from this, there was some protesting on this day, because of course there was. So this is the political event that took place. So as you can see, the Independent reporting here, expect us, indigenous activists lead Washington, D.C. protests to demand Biden declare climate emergency. Why? Again, I mean, two things that could be different things, but aren't, because reasons.
I mean, wasn't this part of the Green New Deal that Cortez herself was putting forward, that they were going to like help natives and indigenous people and stuff like that? It's like, how's that going to help?
I don't think Black Mountain or whatever it is at any risk of flooding. But
yeah,
there's also, I just love the idea of like Cortez and some native holding hands, walking together.
See, if we have native people driving the cars, then they won't pollute as much somehow.
Okay.
It's like applying a filter.
Yeah, but I mean, we're not going to get into the Green New Deal here, but that's what they said they were going to do. What did they really do? Well, we have the Mail reporting the information which leftists won't want to report, so we go to the next one here. We can see indigenous and left-wing climate protesters swarmed the White House and defaced an Andrew Jackson statue with graffiti. So if we scroll down, we can see the Andrew Jackson statue, which has got someone spray painting "Expect Us" on it, because I don't really get what that's a reference to, but okay. That just feels more like a threat. Yeah, I don't know what else it could be, but also the fact that if we're talking about indigenous people, Andrew Jackson, also an indigenous person. He is indigenous to the United States. He is American. He cannot come from anywhere else. He's not German. I love how a lot of, let's say, European Americans love to talk about, oh, I have German ancestry, or blah, blah, blah. Yep. In the same way, some African Americans will say Nigeria, blah, blah, blah. But no, you're Americans, you're indigenous to America, you are not of anywhere else. And that's why you are seen as different to when you come to these places. Anyway, so if we got that, and then if we move on, I want to see some of the right-wing responses, because we had the left-wing responses. And there are various defenses of Christopher Columbus and celebrating Mr. Columbus. So this one from some guy saying, if Columbus doesn't deserve a holiday, then why would indigenous peoples who committed so many more and worse atrocities than he did deserve a day? Yes, it's an argument you could make. I don't know. I mean, the indigenous people also includes the Americans, so yeah. If you want to throw in the atrocities in somewhere, but yeah, they're not very convincing in my thing. But I saw Ted Cruz also gave a defense of this, in which he's saying in honor of Christopher Columbus Day, he gives you Reagan's speech about Christopher Columbus, and it really does harken back to a different era. So I thought we'd go through just a little bit of it, because I find it interesting that reading stuff from like that era is almost like going in a time machine to a different world at this point.
It's less than 40 years ago still at this point, 86 as well.
Yeah, but he's not denouncing Christopher Columbus left, right, and centre because he did bad things. And it's like, that's not the point of these celebrations. It's the point of him finding the new world, the achievements of the man, not the, oh yeah, he did slavery and some killing. It's like, oh, a lot of killing. I'm just like, yeah, that's history for you.
Yep.
Okay, let's go to the presidential speech on this. So I thought we'd just enjoy. So Ronald Reagan speaking here. I don't know how to do his accent, so I won't. Each year, we are privileged to honor Christopher Columbus, whose epic voyages of discovery shaped the development of the Western Hemisphere. This great explorer won a place in history and in the hearts of all Americans because he challenged the unknown and thereby found the new world. Straight to the point.
Yep.
That's why he celebrated. Couldn't give a toss about the bad things he did, because that's not really important to relation to the story. I mean, especially with the United States, he didn't go to 13 colonies. It's that's not really the point. I mean, you remember as well, like before there was Lady Liberty, there was what is it, Columbia, I think her name was, like the symbol of America. So you may recognize that Manifest Destiny picture with like this angel woman.
Yeah, I think I probably have seen that somewhere down the line.
She's meant to be Columbia or whatever her name was, for example, and that's the story of Columbus and all the rest of it is discovery of the unknown. Not that he did bad things. Okay,
and everyone did bad things in history.
Yeah, but that's not a reason to venerate him. But the Americans don't treat him like he's Muhammad in Islam. He's not the perfect man who we must live to aspire to live like every day, and therefore going off conquesting in Haiti or something. So it's not happening. It's just this guy who discovered the new world, and he did it. So Reagan continues: Americans of Italian descent are proud to say that Columbus, a son of Genoa, was the first of many Italians to come to America, and a powerful reason the United States and Italy share a unique friendship that they do. Those of Spanish descent likewise point out that Spain made Columbus's voyages possible, and that he is the first link in the friendship between the United States and Spain. All Americans share in this just pride. I mean, again, the language is what I'm trying to get at here. It's just the unashamed celebration. Not even a hint of someone might disapprove of this, because who cares what some fringe weirdos think? But now that's the mainstream democratic voice.
It's sad to see that it's all just gone.
Yeah. I also do find the idea that that's the beginning of the friendship between the United States and Spain quite funny. I mean, Spanish-American War, all the rest of it, but all right. So he continues, now, therefore, I, Ronald Reagan, President of the United States of America, do hereby proclaim Monday, October 13th, 1986, as Columbus Day. I invite the people of this nation to observe the day with appropriate ceremonies in honor of that great explorer. I also direct that the flag of the United States be displayed in all public buildings and appointed a day of honor to Christopher Columbus. I love the unashamed abashedness. I'm a patriot. Get lost. Yep. And I'm not old enough for Reagan, but it really does look like some kind of golden era. Anyway, but that's the right wing takes on it. Let's say, in which it's just like, great explorer, get stuffed, or it's he committed some crimes. Yeah, and what? Because everyone commits crimes in history. Yeah, that's not what's important about them. But the most based takes come from people who hate Columbus. So these activists and people like them who support them, who went out to say that this is the worst crime that's ever faced humanity, which is celebrating the discovery of the New World, they have the most base takes. And let's go through it. First one here. So for people listening, there's an image on the left of a statue of Columbus covered in red paint with "Stop Celebrating Genocide." And if we go to the right image, it's a child holding a sign saying, "The most dangerous immigrants arrived in 1492. Very based. Just immigrants are dangerous, are they? I'm glad we agree. There are certain levels of danger. And also, if there is mass immigration of immigrants, that's genocide, is it? Right. Okay. Anyway, let's go to the next one, because this is probably the most based of base takes I have seen, which is that Columbus was an Islamophobe. Los Angeles Times here. Again, the ones who accused Larry Elder of being a white supremacist, but whatever. So, op-ed, Columbus' fear of Islam, rooted in Europe's crusades, shaped his view of Native Americans. So, he treated them as Muslims, and he's fearful of Islam, and therefore that's what he did. Right.
Okay.
So in here they say, one of the most crucial aspects of his biography is missing. A primary force behind Columbus's Atlantic crossings was a fear and hatred of Islam. I mean, the revamping of history. There was the reason he did it, he just hated Muslims so much. He wanted to go find more. He'd had enough of hating Muslims in Europe and the Middle East, and he was like, just gonna go find some new continent to find some Muslims.
Yep.
Right, sure, okay. And they say, this shapes how white Europeans engaged with the New World and its native peoples for centuries, and how today's Americans understand the world. Again, as if, I love how there's this, the worldview is, of course, that there are white people and then there are non-white people. These are the two camps, and that's how the entire world works. There's two, there's the devil and then the heroic victim. Yep. And the white people, they hate Muslims, are also in the brown camp for some reason, and also the natives people, and they're going to make this link more connect. Yep. They'll be like, yes, they treated like Muslims. Right.
They need to force that in.
Yeah. It should influence how we think about the second Monday in October, whether you call it Columbus Day, Indigenous Peoples Day, or Italian Heritage Month. Sorry, Italian Heritage Day. And I was like, okay, so there's another day to be act on there of different things. Yeah. So Columbus was born in Europe's anti-Islamic mindset in 1451. Right, stop you there. Any reason for that? Any reason? He just born. Everyone there just hated Muslims. No reason whatsoever.
Part of the genetics, don't you know?
Yeah. Can't think of any reason whatsoever Europe might be in a bit of a frenzy of being anti-Muslim. Has nothing to do with North Africa being Islamic when it didn't always, or the Middle East, or Turkey, or Spain, or Southern. I mean, we could go on.
Yep.
Anyway. So he's raised in the anti-Islamic mindset, what a bigot, raised on the tales of crusades and the territorial losses of his homeland of Genoa, suffered after the Ottoman Empire's capture of Constantinople in 1453. Yeah, I mean, there's the evidence if you needed it, but why? So as a teenager, he took to the Mediterranean as a sailor's apprentice. Some of his first maritime voyages brought him face to face with the awesome power of the Ottomans in the Aegean and other Muslim states in North Africa. He later sailed down the coast of West Africa, where the region's powerful Muslim kingdoms impressed upon him that Islam was everywhere, surrounding Christendom. it was.
I mean, where's the lie?
Everything there is true. I mean, these places weren't all Islamic once upon a time, and now they are.
This isn't really establishing that he was Islamophobic for no reason.
But it's also the point of like, yeah, this guy's bad. Why? Because he's a foreign conqueror of native peoples.
Why did he leave?
Why? What happened in Europe?
Yes.
Well, there were these foreign conquerors who were colonizing all of North Africa, Spain, Turkey, kicking out Constantinople, and it's almost like this is looking more and more like a thing of the time. Anyway, when Columbus returned to Europe, he joined Spain's fight against the Muslims in the south of the Iberian Peninsula 6 months before he set off across the Atlantic. Again, so, I mean, I didn't know this, but I find that amazing. He was literally a man fighting for the indigenous people of Spain against the foreign colonizers of Arabia.
I mean, they should be celebrating him even harder over in America, surely.
He's literally the hero you're looking for at the same time as the villain, which is one hell of a thing. Anyway, so when Columbus arrived in the Caribbean, he saw Islam there too, where it so very clearly did not exist. And I mean, they've got a point on this, which is absurd. So, for example, he called the weapons of the indigenous Tanos alfañas, a Spanish word derived from Arabic for the curved metal scimitars that Muslims used to use, which... yeah.
Fair.
I mean, if
it's what he associated it with.
I mean, if it looked like a scimitar. Later, he first saw the scarves of a group of indigenous women. He thought they more related through trade or some other form of Eurasian contract when to what termed Moorish sashes. So he considered the scarves they were wearing to be Moorish sashes and assumed they had some kind of contact with the Moors or something, which, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But then it's really just him making a comparison. It's not him being like, yeah, these guys are Muslims. It's not happening. Anyway, so a couple of decades after Columbus, Herman Cortez too wrote that the Aztecs of Mexico wore Moorish robes, and the Aztec women looked like Moorish women, presumably because they're not as white as Spaniards, but then again, Spaniards aren't white either, so... no. He claims to see more than 400 mosques in the territory he conquered 500 years ago, which today he would call Mexico, and referred to the leader, Montezuma, as Sultan. Again, doesn't really prove that he's seeing them as Islam, just that he's making a comparison, but whatever. You have to think of these poor indigenous people as essentially part of the global ummah of being brown-skinned. I mean, the comparisons are strange. So for all their lives, these men learned that Muslims were their foremost enemies. In their mind, an enemy conjured up the image of a non-white Muslim. And again, Italians, Spaniards, also non-white in modern worldview, so don't know how that fits in. But I love that, which is just that he's trying to, the author here, gin up support for the idea that the natives are also somehow also oppressed by Islamophobes. It's like, I think we could probably just do with what they did enough. But again, it has nothing to do with anything here. It's just the point of trying to crush Columbus Day because Columbus man bad.
There's not much point to this other than just hammering home that you should hate this.
Yeah, which is not why anyone remembers Columbus. They're not like, yeah, Columbus, based because he took slaves in Hispaniola. No, it's because he discovered the New World. That's his achievement.
Yep.
That's the point in the man.
If you enjoyed that segment from the podcast, The Lotus Eaters, you can catch the full podcast at 1 p.m. every weekday UK time at lotuseaters.com. You can also sign up at lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site.
Yeah, that's how we keep this whole operation running. And recently we've put up loads of great stuff, such as this interview with legendary comedian Steve Hughes, one of my personal favourite comedians, so it was a real honour to be able to meet him. But one thing that I didn't expect, that he would be such a deep thinker, and this podcast is genuinely like a meeting of minds in a way. He was right on my wavelength on a bunch of things and helped me actually connect a bunch of dots, but I'm not going to carry on and spoil it. We also, of course, have lots of interesting articles that have been written, such as this one by Josh about the dumbest country on earth. And for premium, for silver tier subscribers, we also include a link, so it's we have an audio reading of it from a chap called Jonathan, who has a very smooth voice that you will enjoy. And this is great because often I don't have time to read all of the articles that we put up, because we've put up a lot of regular content, and so this saves me the hassle of having to read it myself. So I really actually am very appreciative of this feature on a personal level. But we also do the Contemplations and Epochs, which are just interesting podcasts about interesting things. These are regular weekly podcasts. So this one is one of our writers, Josh, who's he's got a master's degree in psychology, talking about theories of intelligence and how they matter. And of course, we've got the Epochs, where myself and Bo, or in this case it was Josh and Bo, talking about the life of Sir Francis Drake. So that's 2 solid hours talking about England's most notorious adventurer. But we've also got lots and lots of other ones. This is number 21, so there's a good back catalogue there. And finally, we have our book clubs, and this is the part that I'm most proud of. Recently, we've done Shooting an Elephant by George Orwell, and
Reflections on a Ravaged Century by Robert Conquest.
yeah, Robert Conquest is fantastic. Just if you want Western chauvinist historian, he's your man.
Anti-socialism.
Yes,
Very
in all forms, it's fantastic. So yeah, and like I said, that's what keeps the podcast running. So if you want to become a member, thank you very much, and we think there's some great stuff you'll enjoy.